Miracle Boy Boxing, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, the one and only Hosting Cruz, bringing you another exciting edition of boxing. Don't forget to hit and to like, subscribe to my channel. It's always greatly appreciated. Stay tuned. Miracle Boy Boxing, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Hosting Cruz, and what an interesting night of boxing that we just saw live from I believe is the Mandalay Bay. They call it the Ultra Lounge venue now, something like that. Anyway, Mandalay Bay, as I know it as, hosted two fights in the main card. Jermall Charlo making a return to the ring for the first time in 2 years as he took on Thomas Lamana, who's known as Cornflake. And this fight was what it was. It was just a tune-up to show the world where Charlo is at. You know, he was going through depression. You know, he did not fight for 2 years, so this was his first fight since, and it was what it was, a tune-up to see where he's at, and to also set up a highly anticipated showdown with Caleb Plant. But as we all know what just happened, I'm going to get into that in a second. But let's talk about the Charlo fight, man. The Charlo fight was what it was, like I said, a tune-up, and Charlo did not show no signs of ring rust, at least to me. I said, because he ain't fight in 2 years, you know, when I look at this card, I said Charlo is going to be in a tune-up. Plant is going to have the harder fight. Plant's fight is the real fight. Charlo is just a tune-up. You know, he's been out of the water for 2 years, so tonight is all about putting those toes back in the water and feeling things out. And so said, so done, man. Charlo had a dominant performance. He was relaxed. He was patient. He displayed a nice, stiff, strong jab, busting up Lamana repeatedly, backing him up basically with a jab, and just, you know, placing his shots, taking his time, not rushing anything, because it's been 2 years, so he's feeling things out, you know, trying to shake off whatever rust he has. And to me, I barely saw any rust. It was just a beatdown. Thomas Lamana, you know, he showed a lot of heart. You know, he was taunting a lot. He was game. He was a game fighter tonight. And what's interesting to me is that Lamana was coming in on a 10-fight win streak. So he hasn't lost a fight since 2021. So he's 4 years undefeated. But, of course, it was against not elite fighters, no former world champions on there. Got a couple records on there that was 23-7, 28-7, something like that. A couple fighters like that. But, of course, nothing dramatic or great to speak about. But it was a 10-fight win streak, nothing less. But he stepped up tonight like he did in his past few fights. He had 5 losses coming in, and a few of those were to big names like Erislandy Lara, Jorge Cota, who's a veteran out there, and Erislandy Lara knocked him out in 1 round. Anytime he stepped up, he got beat up and knocked out. And tonight was no different. Yes, like I said, he showed a lot of heart. He was game, a lot of courage. Landed a few good shots here and there, but nothing to face Charlo. At the end of the day, Charlo displayed a dominant performance, and the doctor stopped the fight after seeing enough. You know, Lamana was all busted up, a lot of bruises, and it was just for the safety of Lamana, man. As much as he wanted to continue and go on, he's a fighter. Fighters do that. It was just a beat down, and it was the right stoppage. The crowd was booing. I don't know what they were booing for. You know, like they wanted to see Lamana killed. But the 2-division champion is back. Jermall Charlo, man. It's always good to see Charlo's back in there. Yes, they're cocky as hell. They talk a lot, man, but most of the time they back it up in the ring, especially this one. He's 33-0, hasn't lost yet, 22 knockouts. First fight at 168 pounds, and I'm looking forward to what's next. It won't be Plant, because now Caleb Plant has suffered a loss to the underdog, Armando Rosendiz out of Mexico, who came in with a record of 15-2, 11 knockouts. Looking to, man, climb a mountain tonight, and so did he. He climbed the mountain tonight and upset Caleb Plant and took away Plant's WBA interim 168-pound title. Now, the caption on the screen during the fight, it said WBA super middleweight title. It didn't say interim. Jimmy Lennon Jr. said interim. And when you look at the boxing rankings, Plant coming in was the WBA interim super middleweight title champion. Which means if he was to win this fight, he will get closer to fighting Canelo Alvarez again for the rematch. But he lost. And the thing is with this fight that he lost, he's no longer going to get the Charlo fight. The Charlo fight, this card was all about setting up that fight. Plant and Charlo. Charlo won. All Plant needed to do was win his. Now coming in, I knew Plant was going to be in the fight. Charlo was a tune-up. You know, La Mana is all about getting there, when he steps up in competition. He gets beat up, bust up, loses a fight, gets paid, he's out of there. That's what happened tonight. Plant, on the other hand, was fighting a true live dog in there. Rosendiz coming in, I knew was going to be a threat. Now, not to the point where he beats Plant, but to give him a good fight. And he did more than that. He did more than give him a good fight. He gave him a fight and beat his ass. Hurt him a few times, busted him up, took the fight to Plant, landing repeated overhand rights and hooks, can't miss it, and it was just a dominant performance. And I'm like, damn, Plant is really getting worked. I expected a good fight, and it was more than that. You know, it was more than that. Not saying it's a classic or a great fight, but it was a beatdown as well. You know, it was good earlier on, but then Rosendiz took over. He started to wear Plant down with the body shots, the overhand rights, and Rosendiz, I'm not shocked of the performance because I knew coming in Rosendiz was a solid opponent. I learned from his fight with Jarrett Hurd, the way he took it to Hurd. You may want to say Hurd maybe was past it. Maybe so. But he took it to Hurd. He showed his durability. He showed his punching power, busting Hurd lips up and stopping him, who's known as a warrior and a durable fighter. He got stopped by Elijah Garcia, who's a good fighter. Won a fight there, then now comes back and wins and defeats an elite fighter in Caleb Plant, taking his WBA interim super middleweight title. Now, another thing with this fight is that the split decision by the judges was bullshit. That was ridiculous. I said, oh my God, they're going to rob Rosendiz. They're going to rob Rosendiz. They're going to rob him, or they're going to give it a draw, so that way they make the fight with Plant and Charlo. You know, boxing politics coming in here. But thank God they got it right. Split decision for Rosendiz. It should have been unanimous. The last 4 rounds were all Rosendiz. He took it to Plant, beating him up, body shots, overhand rights, the right hooks. Plant looking like weak as hell, no steam on his shots, holding repeatedly. And it was Armando Rosendiz' first fight at 168. What an introduction to the weight class. Coming in, being used as a stepping stone in my book, because no one was expecting Rosendiz to come in and win the fight. And comes in and beats one of the best 168-pounders in the world. An elite fighter who's been in there with Canelo Alvarez, David Benavidez, Trevor McCumbee will be fighting. Forgot his name already. Damn, he's not popping up in my head. I'm gonna. It's gonna come back to my head 1 second. But anyway, Caleb Plant, man, I don't know. He's been around. Maybe some say he's losing the hunger for the fight game. He's what, 32, 33 now. He's had some tough fights, man. If you think about it, the Jose Eustachy fight was a tough fight. The David Benavidez, he took a beating in that fight. The Canelo Alvarez, he took a beating in that fight. And now tonight he took a beating. Even in the Trevor McCumbee fight, even though he came back to win by knockout, he was taking a beating in that fight as well. He's had some tough fights. He's had some tough fights. Diego Pacheco, that's the name, and I don't know. Yeah, I knew the name. It did not want to come out my mouth. Diego Pacheco is the name that I was talking about. But yeah, Caleb Plant. Some say he needs to retire. After this performance, this tonight, he looked like a shot fighter in my book. You know, no steam on his shots. He faded late. He faded. He couldn't beat a fighter who just came up to 168. You know, who's a naturally smaller guy. He got walked down. He got walked down. You know, and I said this before coming in, and I've said it before prior to telling myself tonight that it's never good to marinate fights or to keep them waiting long, because things can happen. It's boxing. Anything can happen in a ring. I've learned to not marinate fights too long because anything can happen. Upsets can happen, like what tonight happened. Like, for example, back in 2012, there was a fight between Victor Ortiz versus Josecito Lopez. All Victor Ortiz needed to do was to win that fight, and he gets a mega payday and a mega fight with Canelo Alvarez. That fight happened on June 28th or June 30th, somewhere in June, late June. And the Canelo Alvarez fight was scheduled for September. Like, again, all Ortiz needed to do was beat Lopez. And I watched the fight, and what I saw was Josecito Lopez breaking Victor Ortiz's jaw and ruining the big fight between Ortiz and Canelo. So we got Canelo versus Lopez. Of course, Canelo went in there and stopped him in 5 rounds, but Josecito Lopez's life changed from one day to the other. He got a big fight in Vegas, big payday, big experience. And yeah, that was supposed to be Victor Ortiz's night, but Lopez came in there and destroyed the plan. So this is what I'm talking about. Tonight was about setting up the Canelo versus the Plant versus Charlo fight. Charlo won his. All Plant needed to do, just like Ortiz against Josecito, to win the fight. And like Lopez breaking Ortiz's jaw, Rosendiz beats Plant, ruins the plans of a Charlo Plant fight. So now, the attention now is going to be on the new WBA interim champion, Rosendiz, likely against Charlo. And if you ask me, even though it's not the fight that we wanted, Charlo versus Rosendiz is a good fight. And of course, rightfully so, Rosendiz earns that fight. He earns whatever fight he wants, actually. Not only the Charlo fight, but he actually earns a Canelo fight. Highly doubt Canelo will entertain it. But Rosendiz deserves it. He knocked off the man that had the interim title to set up the Canelo fight, who is the champion at the weight class. So Rosendiz earns the right to fight anybody in the top 10 in the weight class, the best fighters. Canelo has all the belts, so the man to beat, man to fight is Canelo Alvarez. But like I said, I'll be highly surprised if Canelo even entertains a Rosendiz fight. I mean, he might entertain it. You know, he entertained William Skull, which was not an entertaining fight. So why not? Rosendiz will bring the fight to Canelo. Both Canelo and Rosendiz are pressure fighters. Good punching power, Mexican fighters. It should be a tremendous fight for Cinco de Mayo or Mexican Independence Day weekend. This year's Mexican Independence Day weekend for Canelo is already booked with Bud Crawford. So Canelo and Rosendiz is a hell of a fight. But yeah. So yeah, I just want to come out here and talk to you guys about that, man. Charlo back like he never left in a dominant performance against Thomas Lamana. And Caleb Plant getting upset by Armando Rosendiz, who is now the new WBA super middleweight interim champion. Not D, because D is Canelo. This was for the WBA interim title. And there's a new dog in town, and he's Mexican. And Armando Rosendiz. Miracle Boy Boxing, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Jose Cruz. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, guys. And it is always a pleasure to talk to you guys about boxing. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace. Oh, yeah. I know you're probably wondering why my Puerto Rican headband is not on. I got it right here. Forgot to put it on. When I hit play on the video, I was like, damn. Too late. Next time. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.